welcome back to this week's episode of your Manifesting Bestie podcast, where we dive into all things mindset and manifestation. I'm your host, Flora, and this is actually going to be our last episode before our break this season. So I'm not ending season 5 here. We're taking a break roughly around midway. We are, I believe, on our 20th episode this season, and I want to do at least another 10 to 15 episodes for season 5. So we are going to take a short break for a few weeks here while I have other things going on, big projects and planning for your Manifesting Bestie. So we're going to take this short break, but rest assured we will be back to continue season 5 in not too long. So in last week's episode, we went over the concept of being timeless, being the person who does not base their desires around the concept of time, and they are actually collapsing timelines in the quantum field to get to where they want to go. And while you are becoming this timeless individual, I also want to give you another formula to follow that is going to help you on your journey of life, your journey of becoming the real you, the unfolding, right? This beautiful manifestation journey that we are all on together. And I want to give you a formula for becoming the most magnetic, most charismatic person in every single room that you walk into. Have you ever seen a person who can walk into any room and every single head turns in their direction? It's like they are a magnet. It's like they are pulling at every corner of the room to put all eyes, all attention, all focus directly on them. Those people carry a magnetism code inside of them. But there's a formula to charisma, to becoming charismatic, that can be learned, that can be applied and practiced and perfected until magnetism is literally oozing out of you. Oozing out of your pores, okay? You become that individual who can just turn it on at the drop of a dime. Because there is a specific formula to charisma. It's not random. It requires certain factors that any person can turn on at any given time. And the reason I believe that this is so important is because so many of our listeners, so many of our followers here at your Manifesting Bestie podcast are people who are entrepreneurs, people who are brand owners, people who are content creators, people who have massive life goals and life plans, the people who want to make big impact. If you want to make big impact, you need charisma. You need to win people over energetically, not with your words, because anyone can say anything. Winning people over, gaining their focus and attention where they want to absorb you, okay? They want to absorb you like a sponge. You are a magnet to all the things that they want in life. To become that individual, you can turn on your magnetism, you can turn on your charisma in any given moment and become so good at this that no matter what your life goal is, no matter what the big dreams are, the big plans are, you can turn this charisma on to influence people and make an impact. So what is the formula behind charisma? What are the attributes that an extremely charismatic person carries that just gets people turned on, gets people to pay attention, gets people to listen and lean in and want more? If you don't want to be that person, you don't need to listen to this episode, okay? If you don't want to be charismatic, if you do not want to be magnetic, if you don't want to be delicious, if you don't want to be the billboard of being a turned on individual, you do not have to listen to this episode. But if you do want to gain that type of energy and really impact people with your presence, with your aura, you're going to want to follow 2 things for this charismatic formula, this formula for automatic charisma that allows you to just literally turn shit up, own the room, own your own presence, where you get a seat at every single table that you want to eat at. So magnetic, charismatic people hold these 2 attributes at a very balanced level. The first attribute is warmth, and the second attribute is competence. Warmth and competence. You're going to want to remember these 2 terms while we are going through this episode. Warmth and competence. Now, this is backed by decades of social psychology and research. There's a whole book actually about this, because people are fundamentally wired to evaluate these two things about you the second they meet you. And your energy kind of reads off the answer to warmth and competence. And a leveled combination of these two components creates influence. This makes you influential. It makes you trustworthy. People feel like they can read your benevolent intentions. So the first thing that people judge about you is your level of warmth. So how warm you are energetically. This means you are trustworthy. This means that you would make a good friend. This means that you have pure intentions. And this actually matters a little bit more to people than your level of competence, like what your perceived value is, like what you bring to the table, what your skill sets are, right? So the first thing people judge about your character is your level of warmness. So how warm of an individual you are. Now, I have met people in real life who are on a high end of this and on a very low end of this. I have met people that I looked up to and they were cold, okay? They lacked warmth on a very high level. And I felt a little bit weirded out by that because they present themselves in a different manner online. And when you feel someone that you look up to or someone that you feel could influence you in a positive way and you meet them and they are cold, they are brittle, and not even awkwardness and shyness, just coldness. They don't remember your name. They barely look you in the eye. They don't want to engage in any conversation. That feels cold to an individual who would like to get to know you, who would like to be around you, who would like your influence on their life. So the way that people measure your level of warmness, your level of warmth, is through your level of friendliness, empathy, trustworthiness, and actively listening to them. So this really means that you are open. You are engaged. No matter how high you are on your level of success, you still come off as a caring person. Now, you might have people that you can think of automatically who just lack warmth. And I think of people who are like big names in different industries that I can think of who I know are super rich, super successful, super wealthy, but I would never in a million years want to have a conversation with them because they are so cold. So I think of people like Mark Zuckerberg or Elon Musk or certain people that I have listened to speak, and I don't feel a warm human connection from them. I think that's the best way I can explain it. I feel the lack of humanness inside of them, lack of warmth. Because a person who I would trust, a person who I want to engage with, they would have a completely different demeanor. And no matter how successful that individual may be, if they come off very cold, I don't want to be influenced by them. I don't want to feel their impact. I don't want much to do with them. Like they haven't won me over because they lack warmth. So that's the first thing that a person's mind takes analytics of when they meet you, when they see you, when they hear you, when they feel you. Number one is warmth. Number two is competence. So this is where we start going into skill sets, your unique perspectives, what you are good at, what you are passionate about, what type of topics you can hold conversations about, and the level of depth that you can add to those conversations. That shows people that you are competent. So you probably have certain topics, certain areas in life that you are highly competent in. And if you guys have listened to any of my podcast episodes, I will be the first person to tell you whatever you are skilled at or competent at, or whatever problems you have solved, or whatever you are just so authentically good at, you need to turn that into a business. You need to turn that into a passion project and make some fucking money off of it, because that is like your sweet spot, okay? That is your highest level of authenticity for you to make abundance easy in your life, like to open up all of your receiving channels, is the things that you are so highly competent in. Now, competence relates to how much a person respects you. So first we had warmth, which is where people can see your good intentions. And the second component is competence. This is where people determine their level of respect for you. Because a person who is deeply competent around a topic or around anything, their business, friendships, food, any ideas, any topics, whatever your level of competence is, that is where people begin to give you their respect automatically. They start to look up to you. They start to put you on a pedestal. They're like, wow, this person is skilled. They are efficient. They are smart. They are bright. They are brilliant. They have impact. Okay, this person can change a world. So competence is very, very important. And a person who can clearly get their competent message across through their speech, like they know how to talk, I mean, you are light years ahead of the rest of the world, because a lot of people kind of mess up on that area, right? Getting their point across clearly and efficiently. So public speaking really is a skill. And not only does competence gain you your respect, but it also gives you confidence. Because when you yourself are very competent around certain topics, you get an ego boost. You get super confident around those things. You're like, I know this shit like the back of my hand. I'm good at this. I'm great at this. Actually, I'm the best at this. So you want to start developing a level of confidence, right? A level of knowing, a level of self-belief around the things that you have competence on to elevate yourself, right? Become that impactful individual where your competence is also looked at from a very, very, very high viewpoint, where people look at you like, oh my God, she's a fucking go. Like, she's the best at this topic. She's really, sought after for this specific thing because she's competent. She proves her skill sets, her efficacy, and she's so confident at it. She just exudes confidence. I want to be around her. I want to be on her level. I want to learn from her, or I want to befriend her, or I want to be like her, right? So this is where impact starts to take place. So remember, we started off at warmth. People need to know you are pure. You have a good heart. That matters. You can't be an arrogant fucking asshole and expect to gain impact and influence people in a positive way and be charismatic and magnetic. Arrogance is not cute. So warmth paired with your competence is going to be that charisma sweet spot. That's what they really call it, the charismatic sweet spot, where you are equally warm, equally competent. You gain respect and you gain the love and the admiration of people where they just want to be around you. They want a piece of you. They want a part of you. They want to taste you, touch you, smell you, hug you. They want to learn from you. They want to pick your brain. Guess what that type of individual can do with their life? Anything, everything. Because now you're recognized, now you're respected, now you're liked. You can influence you can manifest anything in this world when you have this level of charisma. So when you look at highly charismatic people, they are competent and they are warm. So they're not arrogant, but they're not people pleasers. So when we look at these two components of warmth and competence, they can actually deter people if there's not a good balance. So let's break down each component and look at it from the negative viewpoint. If you are overly warm, okay, if you're too nice, you're overly nice, you are now looked at as the people pleaser. You are looked at as and perceived as a person who lacks a backbone. So people think they can use you. They can walk all over you. You're a little bit too vulnerable. You're always making sure everyone else is good except for yourself. People don't respect that, truthfully. And you're not doing it out of the kindness of your heart. You're doing it to gain a good perspective and be in control of the narrative that people hold of you in their minds. So you being a people pleaser doesn't even come from a genuine warm place. It comes from wanting to control situations because maybe in the past people didn't like you, people rejected you. Now you want to be a people pleaser so that you can gain admiration or respect or like or warmth or friendship or whatever from others, but it backfires. Being overly warm but lacking confidence and competence doesn't work well. It doesn't. You're better off being an arrogant asshole than a people pleaser. Because at least arrogant assholes get their way in life. People pleasers get nothing. They get the bottom of the barrel. And I have to point this out because when I talk about warmth, I don't want your new goal to just be the super kind people pleasing individual. I want it to be genuine. Okay, when we talk about warmth, it's not about bending over backwards for everybody. It's about being present with people, attentively listening to them, holding a present conversation, making the person in front of you feel seen and acknowledged. That's warmth. You're not over here promising them the world, bending over backwards for them, doing everything, putting them before you. No. That's not warmth, that's people pleasing. So just know the difference there. I really want to clarify that part because charismatic people are not people pleasers. Sorry to break it to you. A person who's a people pleaser, a person who finds the need to put everyone else's happiness and needs before themselves is not a charismatic person. They are a person who repels people. They repel charisma, they repel respect, they repel all the good things that they want out of life. So you don't need to be on that end of warmth when we're talking about the concept of being warm. So that's going overboard. So just keep that in mind. So how can we be warm without being people pleasers? We can show that we are vulnerable. We can show that we are human by laughing at ourselves, not taking ourselves too seriously, being open to conversations and even conflicts and listening to other people, hearing them out. Another thing that you can do to project your warmth onto others is to use inclusive language. So instead of I, say we. And I do this sometimes personally when I talk about my business. My business is an I business. I'm a one-woman show. But a lot of times when I talk about like, oh my God, we just hit a $300,000 month, I say we because I want it to feel inclusive. I want it to feel warm. I want my clients to feel like they did this with me. So I would say we rather than I just hit a $300,000 month. You see how different that feels. One feels warmer. The other one feels more egocentric, just about the individual. So that's a really good way to project warmth, is to change your language to being inclusive. That is how you gain people to like you even more. They want to be around you more. You are more magnetic. Also, when you're having conversations with people, to be more engaged, you want to put your phone away. Eliminate distractions. Be more present. When I was at an event a couple weeks ago in Orlando, I had so many of you guys were my listeners, our podcast supporters, and I got to speak to so many of you individually, and I made sure to do my best to like put my phone away and not be sidetracked with whoever is calling to say, where are you? Are we going to this location? Are we meeting here? Let's take pictures in this corner, right? I'm like, let me try to be so engaged and be so present with people who are right in front of me. That is the best way to be warm. And if you are like a content creator or you own a brand, you can be this way when you're recording yourself, you're filming yourself. So when people listen to you, they feel like it's just the two of you having a direct conversation, even though you're just filming yourself in your phone, but you're being intentional and you're using language that's inclusive. You're feeling more warm. You are gaining gaining trust, gaining admiration, and coming off more magnetic and charismatic to the people listening. Now, on the other end of this spectrum would be people who have high levels of competence, but low levels of being warm. So these are the people that I mentioned, like the Mark Zuckerbergs, who I'm like, I would never want to have a conversation with that person. I don't care how rich or successful or influential they are in this timeline, there is nothing warm about them. They almost come off humanless, cold, arrogant, just someone I would never want to strike up a conversation with, because overall their aura just lacks so much warmth, so much humanness. You know what I mean? So we just talked about not being overly warm, but being intentional with being warm. Now let's talk about competence. We want to be very competent, very efficient, very well spoken, but not to the level where we come off like arrogant, where we come off cold and brittle and humanless, emotionless, right? So if we are very competent people, we are very brilliant at the things that we do, we have high skill sets, we know we're respected, we know we're good at what we do, we don't have to gloat about it necessarily, or if we talk about our accomplishments, let's do it in an exciting way where there's still warmth attached to it. Because that makes people want to join your movement. They want to join you. They want to befriend you. They want to be a part of whatever you're doing because they see that you're skilled. They see that you're good as fuck at what you do, but you also have a human likable ability to you. And sometimes people get stuck on one end of this formula or the other end. They're either overly warm people pleaser types and don't showcase their level of efficiency and competence, or they're cold individuals. They're very confident and competent, but they are repelling people by their lack of warmth, right? So we see how we can end up easily on either side of the spectrum, but the charisma comes from a perfect balance of these two components. And that is when your aura shines. That is when your magnetism oozes out of your cells, because you're warm and approachable and likable and lovable, but you are respected. You are looked up to. You are admired. So we can combat people's negative perspectives of being on too far end of either of this spectrum here by finding a happy medium and realizing that that is our true self, because we are competent and confident, but we're also warm and human-like with human vulnerable emotions, and we know how to create human connections. That is what magnetizes people to you. That is how you own every single room that you walk into. So if you feel like you're lacking in either warmth or competence, that's okay. What can we do to still become super charismatic? Well, if you were that super charismatic individual who has high level skill sets that she knows she's really fucking good at, she kills it, she eats at it every single time, okay? People love her for what she's doing. She already has a movement, plus she knows she's liked because she is vulnerable, she's human. She connects, she's open. She likes to have deep conversations with people who come up to her, people who are meeting her for the first time, people who speak to her online. If you were her today, how would you walk into a room? How high would you hold your head? How would you dress? What type of posture would you be holding? Okay, let's say there's a doorman and he opens the door for you and you are walking into this big event. All eyes on you. What type of posture does your body hold when you do your walk, when you strut your stuff into that room? Because you can turn her on at any minute. That's the Marilyn Monroe effect. We've talked about that before. How she used to just turn it on, because that wasn't her real name. Her real name was Norma Jean, but Norma Jean knew how to turn on Marilyn Monroe. All cameras on her, all eyes on her, flashes going off. She would own it. She would ooze confidence. She had beauty, she had warmth, she had respect, she had admiration, she had all of that. She would just turn it on at the drop of a dime. This is something we can teach ourselves energetically. So if you were that woman right now who is highly confident, well-respected, and very much liked and adored, how do you move, like physically move through the room? How do you walk on a sidewalk? You can practice this now. You can practice your charisma now until it becomes set in stone, until it becomes second nature. Because charisma is how you build an undeniable brand. Charisma is how we get people tuned in no matter what we are doing. We get our audience turned on no matter what we are doing. Because we're human-like, but we're also very competent. We're very skilled. Okay, we're amazing at what we do. And we can turn this confidence on at any given moment. We can turn the magnetism on at any given moment. Charisma is the feeling you get across to the person watching you. That's what charisma is. What feeling does your presence give to others? Because when you can master charisma, you can do anything. You will be successful at anything. You can land any job. You can land any relationship, any lover that you desire. You can land any business. You can land anything. Anything. You can walk into any room and own it. You can network with crazy, intelligent, influential, successful people, and they will look at you like you belong. Yes, come, sit at the table. You belong in this conversation. Pull up a chair with us. Break bread with us, right? Let's do business together. Let's be friends. Let's network. Let's travel the world. Let's make something out of nothing. Let's build impact. Let's build influence. If that's the type of person you want to be, you can train your body into it, because then your nervous system will recalibrate to this new individual. Everything in your body starts to shift the more that you move like her. You walk in the room like her. You hold the posture of her. You're not hiding yourself. You know you are the impactful individual, the charismatic individual who's magnetic, who turns heads, okay? And on top of all of that, you can even increase the likelihood of your charisma by taking the best possible care of your physical appearance. So that is not in the regular formula that you're going to see online or in the books, is appearances. They focus on warmth and competence, but I'm going to throw appearance in there, especially as a woman, okay? Because appearances in this day and age matter, especially because everything is on social media and everything is a visual concept. Be the woman who takes exclusive care of herself, okay? Top notch, the best of the best. Everything on you should ooze confidence. However you look, wherever you currently are, you can take the best possible care of yourself physically. So every time you leave the house, you show up like her. Because that's when opportunities really meet you where you're at. That's when luck happens. Not just charisma, but now you're creating your own luck. You're not just confident. You're not just well-liked. You're not just charismatic. You don't just look good. You're all of it. You're all of it packaged into this perfect present moment where opportunities and luck find you. Okay, this is how we make our own luck happen. We become the individual who moves like, feels like, looks like, acts like, talks like the person who can just have it all. And that's what we all want out of life. We want to be the person who can wake up in the morning and say, I am about to conquer the day. And luck meets me where I'm at. And opportunity meets me where I am. But that comes with preparation. Not by chance. You are prepared. Because you understand the formula to charisma. And you look the part. You become undeniable. Magnetic. You are irresistible. You cannot be ignored. So I'm talking to my business owners, my brand owners, my creators, and anyone listening. You want to be the most charismatic version of yourself if you are the individual who's interested in being a miracle magnet, a person who creates her own luck. Luck happens when preparation meets opportunity, right? We've all heard that before. But it's our identity that we embody in the present moment that really determines what shows up in our reality. And I want all the juicy, delicious goodness to show up for you. All the wealth and abundance, all the opportunities, all the good friendships, all the love, all the passion, all the fire, all the good fortune, all the prosperity. But it can't show up and meet you anywhere when you're hiding in your old identity. It can't meet you when you're still second guessing yourself. You're not showing up as your most charismatic, magnetic identity. You're showing up a little bit uncertain. Maybe you're on the people pleaser side. Maybe you're on the overly cocky, arrogant side. Maybe you're nowhere near those two sides. You're just scared. I don't know where you currently are, but I invite you to start practicing this formula for charisma because you can turn it on at any moment. You can train yourself into this, like flexing a muscle over and over and over until it becomes firm, set in stone, solid. You know how many bicep curls you gotta do for your biceps to actually pop? A lot. You gotta put in the reps. Repetition over time, repetition over time. You practice it, you flex it like a muscle day in and day out until it becomes you to your core. Shyness, gone. Insecurities, gone. Unworthiness, gone. Self-loathing, gone. Belittling yourself, gone. Fearfulness, gone. All you do now is you move in charisma. You move in your magnetism. You move in undeniable certainty. That's who you become. That's who you are to your core. and you're listening to this episode and you're like, oh my God, that sounds so good. It's because that's who you are to your core. That's your true nature. A magnetic, turned on, charismatic individual who takes the best care of herself, who's always ready for opportunity, who is met by luck around every corner that she turns on. She knows her shit. She's highly competent, highly skilled, and she's a warm and likable, trustworthy, good intention type of individual. That is how you influence the world. And that is how you own every fucking room you walk into. And you turn every single head that you walk past. People are just like, who is she? Who is that? I wanted to get to know her. I want to talk to her. She looks familiar. Have I seen her online? Have I seen her somewhere? I want to talk to her. I want to give her a hug. I want to pick her brain. That individual never runs out of opportunity. Never runs out of friendships. Never has a small network. Never falls behind on bills because she always has money coming in. That individual figured out life because she moves through her own magnetism. She figured out a formula where the world rolls out the red carpet for her no matter where she goes. I want you to be that individual. So put this formula into play. Warmth plus competence plus taking the absolute best care of yourself physically, which also means taking care of yourself mentally, emotionally, and spiritually, because that all is presented in your physical vessel. So taking the best possible care of yourself like you are already, that super charismatic, super influential person, and you become undeniable. Undeniable. People cannot look away. You are irresistible. You are what everybody wants. You are the person that is a pleasure to be around. You move people. You make people take action just through your words, through your aura, through your energy. You never run out of luck or opportunities. It's just who you are. It's you to your core. And I want to hear from our listeners. What are some practices that you guys put into play to turn on your magnetism, to increase your aura, to become so magnetic? What are your practices? What are your rituals? What are the perspectives that you carry throughout your day that turns this on at any given moment? I would love to hear your feedback because you guys are so creative, so brilliant, and I always get such amazing feedback and ideas from our listeners. So thank you guys so much for tuning in. And as I mentioned, we are taking a break for season 5 until we continue it probably next month. And we will be back again very, very soon with another episode of your Manifesting Bestie podcast.